children can now use phonics to read, which is called decoding, and write, which is called encoding, but only words that contain the basic vowel sounds. So it is time to add more sounds. This is where things can easily become rather technical and analytical, with terms like diphthongs and digraphs, which I don't think is necessary for most purposes. Certainly the children don't need these terms. I'm going to use one simple, non-technical term: Phonics Families. Tree, bee, and green are members of one phonics family. Seal, leaf, and peach are members of a different phonics family, even though the pronunciation of EE and EA is the same. And window, low, and yellow are members of a different phonics family from cow, how, or brown, even though both groups contain OW. Phonics families of this kind can be introduced through anchor words in the same way that vowels and consonants were. Here are some examples. E, tree. Ah, car. Foot. Oo, spoon. Some children can immediately read words such as green after learning the combination E. Other children need to go through the same steps as with the basic vowels. First, playing games where they combine E with a consonant, for example, een, then adding a consonant at the beginning, for example, reen, and then making it longer and reading words like green. It is really helpful at this stage for the children to play a lot of games and read stories and do dictation activities where they encounter various words and nonsense words that are first grouped according to phonics families and then mixed up with the phonics families they have learned in the past. It can also be very helpful to use phonics builders at this stage. So how many of these special phonics families do we need to introduce with anchor words? I think around 20, or just over 20 is enough. There comes a point where I think it is better not to use anchor words to introduce the phonics family. In addition, I think it is helpful for the children to know the magic E families, where E added to a word changes the pronunciation of a vowel from its basic sound to its name. So cack becomes cake, and a, the basic vowel sound, changes to a, the name of the letter. Kit becomes kite, and I, the basic vowel sound, changes to I, the name of the letter. Bon becomes bone, and o, the basic vowel sound, changes to o, the name of the letter. Your pronunciation will be different from mine, but this guideline generally works. This is, of course, just a very helpful guideline. It is not a rule, and even the guideline doesn't work very well for the vowels E and U. Magic E can also be introduced through anchor words, such as A, cake, I, bike, and O, bone, and learned through games, stories, writing activities, songs, just like with other phonics families. Learning to read through phonics is a bottom-up approach. It starts with bits of knowledge and bits of language, and works towards whole context. A more advanced reader can handle more of a top-down approach, where the starting point is meaningful context, which for children is usually a story. When we teach phonics, we need to prepare children to make the transition from a bottom-up approach to a top-down approach to reading. This means that teaching more and more knowledge and rules may be doing the children a disservice, because they can get trapped in a bottom-up, mechanical approach to reading. It may also be overloading them with information unnecessarily. What I suggest is that the children start to learn phonics through a bottom-up approach, and then transition to learning phonics through a top-down approach, with the aim of finally moving to a general top-down approach without phonics. This is how it can work in practice. In the first bottom-up stage, letters and phonics families are introduced through anchor words. As time goes by, we can introduce new phonics families in a more top-down way, usually at first by inserting words from these phonics families in games, stories, or songs, where the children will encounter the words, wonder what they are, and try to guess how to read them. For example, early on, you might decide, as I do, that most consonant combinations can be learned without anchor words. The children encounter them in games, stories, and songs, and pick them up as they go along. The combinations in this list are examples of ones that I don't think need anchor words. There are some approaches to teaching consonant combinations that treat them as individual bits of knowledge. This, to me, is an example of teaching knowledge rather than a skill. If the children encounter a few words like frog, flag, or crab, and learn them by trial and error, they can pick up the skill of combining consonants. Most children can acquire this skill reasonably easily. There are a couple of consonant combinations that are useful and a bit unique. One is double L in words like bell or ball, and another is CK. You could introduce these with anchor words, and that's one possible approach. Personally, I don't. For example, in the case of CK, I just let the children encounter words like duck, sock, rocket, jacket, pocket, or ticket while they are playing games, and work it out. New phonics families can also be introduced through stories or songs. For example, you could introduce the family of words ending in A, pronounced panda, Africa, America, by making a little story about Amanda the panda, or something like that. Or you could use a song like this.
Panda, 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 how are you? Panda, 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 how are you? I am at the zoo today. Clap your hands and shout hooray. Panda, panda, how are you? Panda, panda, how are you?
You can just let the children notice how words like panda or zebra are spelled, and follow up by playing games where the children see these words again. The best timing for when to switch away from a bottom-up approach to a top-down approach varies a lot. It depends on many factors, such as the age of the children and the amount of exposure they have to English. I think the important thing is just to realize that we need to do it when the children are ready. I will look in more detail at how to switch from a bottom-up approach to a top-down approach and move into stories in the next video.